1, 2, 3, can you hear me? Is that good? So I think you should go in kind of tight, head and shoulders.
That's good. And let's just check the focus. I think people should look straight into the lens, right down the lens of the camera. That would be best. Like that.
And we don't even have to interview them because it's only one question.
I think it should just be like the book. When I knew. Yeah?
In 5th grade, when I was making my confirmation, you know, you get to pick a confirmation name.
So I was going away to boarding school. My dad sat me down for this big conversation about the birds and the bees, the facts of life, sex, you know? And part of it was, he talked about homosexuality.
I picked the name of someone I had a crush on. And then it came time to share my choice of my name with my parents. And I realized, oh my God, I can't tell them this kid's name because I'll totally get busted.
And I got really tense as he started talking about this. And I remember very clearly he described it as a terrible weakness. And that's when I knew. It's that moment when you realize that the world around you isn't really designed for you.
It's when you learn how to hide, learn how to keep secret, learn how to sort of fade into the background, learn how to watch.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget when you knew. But I think it's really important to remember.
It's rolling, and you're off.
My name is R. Michael Klinkscales. I'm 43 years old.
My name is Michael Kellerman.
My name is Beth McConnell.
My name is John Petzinger.
My name is Johnny Miller.
My name is Louis Heiss.
Sarah Beth Mannon.
Vince Dean.
So my name is Chrissy Mahan. I'm a cabinet maker and an artist. When I knew, I was a stud. Yeah, I was a stud from day one, pretty much. When I look back at these photos that I have of when I was a little girl, I'm 3. This is my doll Twinkles. What's significant in this picture is that I'm not saying, oh, little baby, go to sleep. I'm pretty much saying, give it up. She was my first. When I think of like the moment that I knew that my path was different than a lot of the other girls' paths was my dear friend Stacy, and I loved her. She had gotten invited to a slumber party, and then some boys had snuck into the slumber party. So the next day she was telling me what had happened, and she told me that she kissed a boy with her tongue, and I burst into tears. Because I just couldn't imagine that she could, you know, have betrayed me in that way. Looking back on it now, I knew that there was a different relationship for me to the other girls than they had among themselves.
When I knew.
5 years old.
About 12 years old.
When I was 8.
13 years old.
5 or 6.
10 years old.
15 years old.
14 years old.
Hi, my name is John Canale. I'm 41, and I'm a writer. I remember I was probably 10 or 11 when I became obsessed with the man on the Don'ts Pills box. I first saw the box when my mother had come back from the drugstore and was unpacking her grocery bags. And I remember me taking out this box, seeing this guy's back, and something clicking in me. I thought he was so hot. He made excruciating back pain seem sexy. I wanted it. What I found most sexy about him, other than his muscly back, was what you couldn't see. That was sexy to me, the parts I had to fill in. I remember actually having it hidden under this little fort I made in my bedroom. It was where I sort of went to hide. I don't know, maybe the pills don't work. He never felt any better. He was always in agony on that box, but sexy agony.
I'm a tennis instructor.
I was an educator for 30 years.
Seamstress.
I'm a police officer in Ventura County.
Program officer with Philadelphia Safe and Sound.
Painting contractor.
Manager of a seafood department for a large grocery store.
I'm a legislative and political consultant.
My name is Kate Getty. I'm 25 years old, and I knew that I was gay, I guess when I was 17 years old, and I had a best friend that I kept wondering why I was so obsessed with her. I would hang out with her and I would want to kiss her the entire time we were hanging out. I remember like sitting and watching The Lost Boys, and we took the pillows off the back of the couch and we just like, I think we were like that close to kissing. And I remember that, and I was just like it was so forbidden, but it was so like exactly what I wanted, but I couldn't quite have it, I don't know. And then I was actually driving on the way to her house thinking about, you know, us being friends and whatnot, and that Goo Goo Doll song, it was really big at the time, and for some reason triggered something in me. And I don't want the world to see me. They don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. So many times that I tried to like push it down, and I didn't want it to be true, but right then, right there, I had to pull the car over, started bawling, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not just best friends with her, I'm in love with her.
When I knew was in church.
It was a very conservative area that I grew up in.
There was a big controversy going on about our pastor, who had just recently come out as gay.
I was raised Catholic.
I'm gay and I'm also Mormon.
They can't accept him. This isn't probably going to work for me at all.
My name's Brandon Woolerson. I am 24. I'm working as an admissions counselor at local university. When did I know? I think the further I am from coming out, it seems like I knew a lot earlier. Growing up in the South, I was in a very rural, small town, so the church and all those things, it was a big deal. I was with my college girlfriend. We actually were engaged. You know, true love waits until marriage, and so we were abiding by those rules. And then we were about a year into dating, and we decided we would take it to the next step. And I remember it very vividly. It was a night in May, and we were watching the movie in the bedroom, and one thing led to another. Before I knew it, I had had sex for the first time. At the end, when we were finished having sex, I had tears running down my face. She was thinking that it was the sweetest thing. She had this very intimate moment with me. But I wasn't crying because it was a great achievement in my life. I was crying more because I realized that, you know, I had taken my lying and my deceit to a next level, yet not being truthful with her or to myself. That was the moment when I realized these desires and these feelings are natural, and they're not going to go away because they're not meant to go away. They're meant for me to have.
I knew I was totally different from all the other guys everywhere.
Feeling like I was a mutant, like there was something wrong with me.
I thought maybe I didn't have enough female hormones. I thought maybe once I became a lawyer, I'd have enough money to go to the doctor, and then I would get the right hormones, and then I would have a sex drive. So I knew something was wrong, but I just quite didn't know what it was.
Wow, there's something different about me, and I don't know what it is, but I know this is what I like. I'm attracted to my friends, my guy friends, and I don't know why, and is there something wrong with me?
Hi, I'm John Kilgariff. I am 41 years old. I knew I was different when I was in 8th grade, and I would just lock myself in my bedroom just to hide from my dad and the rest of the world. I really started to think incredibly that I was so different from other people that actually my blood and my bones and my organs were actually different. Like I was some kind of alien. I just really wanted to be normal. I just really wanted to be like everybody else. I had turned on my television, and I'm watching this documentary on African pygmies, and they were showing these male pygmies totally full frontal nudity. Their little penises just flopping in the wind. Next thing you know, I started feeling these like small contractions in my groin. The contractions got so uncontrollable. My heart was beating a mile a minute. I'm like, why am I feeling this way? And I just felt this like tingling throughout my body. I thought I had to go downstairs and tell my parents that I had to go to the hospital. I don't know why, but I was just overwhelmed by seeing this. I could suppress my feelings for men, but you can't overlook that fact that I just really got off for the first time watching pygmies on TV.
Words like, oh, you're a homo, oh, you're a fag.
Faggot.
A bad person, mentally ill, and a sinner.
Dyke.
Sissy and fag.
You're just a tomboy.
Faggot.
My name is Karen Darcy. I'm 45 years old. I first knew I was different than other girls when I was in first grade. And the reason I knew is because every time I got a chance to sit next to this cute little blonde girl named Jessica, I got a funny, tingly feeling in my stomach. When I was 11 years old, I was in a bookstore, and I was a very well-read child. I had this sneaky way of being able to go in and look at the magazines. So I would grab a Playboy and stick it inside of a comic book and actually page through the pages and look at the naked girls. Just the fact that it was the first time I'd actually seen two women together and felt an arousal from that and knew for sure that this was who I was. And then these girls, I'm sure they were high school girls, they were probably 15 or 16 years old. They were whispering to each other, and they were over on another side of the book rack, and I could see them looking at me. And when they walked by me to leave, that's when one of them whispered loudly in my ear, "Leslie, Leslie, Leslie," just like that. And I knew that, that I was busted at that time. Somebody else knew now all of a sudden. It wasn't just my secret anymore.
She smiled at me and looked at me like I was the only one who mattered.
I really had a crush on this guy.
First grade, Barbie. And my taste in women never changed since that. You know, she was blonde and blue eyes and freckles.
At that age, I didn't know what to do or what was going on or what. I just had this strong feeling towards him and wanted to get closer.
My name is Bobby Johns. I am 33 years old. I am the general manager of a hotel. One I knew was in 1977. I was 5 years old, and I had a very funny feeling when I would watch Grizzly Adams. I kind of knew that I wasn't like other kids because the other boys didn't talk about it the way I talked about it. That TV show, I think, was on like one season, molded a preference for me for years to come. I guess I'm into bears, I could say. When I knew it was going to be difficult to be gay is when I was in 6th grade and I was in the car with my father and my uncle. My father told a joke, not a funny one. And the joke was, what does gay stand for? And the answer is, got AIDS yet? Because I was gay, I thought that, well, I'm gay, so I guess it's inevitable that I'm going to get AIDS. I thought that that was my legacy. I was going to die a horrible death, and that the world and my father would consider it a joke. I never spoke to him about that, ever. And I guess the reason is because I don't think he is that person, and if he was that person, he isn't now.
Every step I took, I'm not gay, I'm not gay, I'm not gay.
I just did not want to be gay. I didn't want to think about that. Didn't want any parts of it.
Instead of acting on what I knew about myself, I decided that instead I would just find a man.
I would date the women he was done with as a way to be closer to him.
I refused to acknowledge them or tell anyone or even admit to myself.
Wanting the kids and marriage and all that and trying to date women and thinking I could change, so to speak.
My name is Sean Fleer. I'm 41. When I really knew I was gay was about the time puberty hit. I guess, as you know, when puberty arrives, your hormones go nuts. You know, you're compelled to masturbate, and it's like, God, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a day at that point. And I remember buying a Farrah Fawcett poster that was at that time, And my theory was that if I just looked at it enough, I could force myself to be straight, because I had realized at that point that I was sexually attracted to men. And so I'd really work hard at it. I would, I remember that you could see her nipples through her bathing suit, and her breasts were large, and inevitably it would go away, and it would become one of the cute jocks in middle school, where the other boys were looking at girls. That very same process was occurring for me, but I'd focus on other boys. And then after that, it was just like, cat's out of the bag. The Pharaoh poster, I'm sure my mother threw those away. They're gone.
Ma, I need to tell you something.
No, you're not, and she couldn't say it, nor could my dad.
I have like a different kind of lifestyle.
He said, that's it. You're excommunicated from the family.
My dad say, well, is this true? What are you?
And my mother turned to me and she said, Cynthia, I already know, and I really want to watch this TV show.
My name is Tom Gilbert. I'm 50 years old and I'm a journalist. I knew I was gay when I was in junior high school. And at the end of the year, when kids exchanged their yearbooks to be signed, I gave it to this guy. And when I got it back, it said, "You're a nice kid, even though you're a fairy." And I was like shocked. And I decided that he didn't really mean fairy in the sense of homo. It was like just fairy in the sense of weird or different. About a month later, my father was reading the yearbook and he saw this. And he really looked pained when he got to that part. And I saw it come over him. Afterwards, my sister came to me and said, you can't believe how he reacted to that. It was just devastating for him. And so I really felt awful about the whole thing. So I took the book and I scribbled out the word fairy. I made it look like a mistake. And then I put nut, N-U-T, like, you're a nut. So that's the way it remains. But I'll never forget what's really under there. A weird thing about my father was that he gave me a French poodle when I was 8 years old, which is a very bizarre dog to give to, a boy child. He must have had an inkling even at that point where this was headed.
My name is Lisa Hayes. I'm 45 years old. I am an AV tech, an audiovisual technician. When I first knew was when I was in 3rd grade. And I don't know if you know this song, but it goes, everyone knows it's windy. Everyone knows it's windy. Well, when I would hear that song, there was one little girl I had such a crush on in 3rd grade. Her name was Wendy, and that's probably why I thought of the song. And I would see, flowers going in circles. And Wendy has stormy eyes. In the 60s, they had the psychedelic flower stuff going in circles. Well, it was like flowers. And in the middle was this girl. So when I heard that song, I would see her and I would, think of that song. Anyway, that's when I knew.
I had a lot of people ask me at school, are you a boy or are you a girl? And I used to get that a lot.
I was tormented in middle school. I had no friends.
When I tried to have a girlfriend in the 8th grade was the breaking point, because I just knew it was a lie. And so did everyone in school. They're just like, what is Anthony doing with Jessie?
There's one guy that attacked me when I was in junior high school.
My name is Chuck Browning. I was born in Casper, Wyoming. I first knew that I was gay in the 6th grade when I was introduced to my new teacher, Mr. Leonard. I think when he first came into our school, there was a lot of excitement. I had never had a male teacher. I was just so enamored with this man and wanting to do everything I could to make sure he knew that I was there for him. I started to deal with my emotions or my feelings for Mr. Leonard when in our science class we had to choose special projects that we could do. And my choice at the time was to work on constructing an oil derrick. The oil derrick was a very solid steel structure. It was incredible girth and strength. The structure supports the shaft, which is the main pipe up the center. I ended up using spaghetti to make the structure out of it.
I think I found myself getting very frustrated because they kept breaking, but I felt a little bit encouraged because of this attraction to Mr. Leonard.
The girth of the shaft at the base was probably 9 to 10 inches. The day the project came due, there was a great deal of anticipation. I had put a great deal of effort and myself into it. I was extremely happy with my grade because it was an A+.
That night I had a dream about this girl, and that was the first time I had ever had a sexual dream about a woman.
I started to have sex dreams with women in them. And of course I would wake up from them and be like, I wonder what that means.
And it was so vivid and so passionate and so right feeling that I woke up the next morning and I told my fiance, I said, baby, we need to break up because I'm gay.
My name is Yvonne. I'm 35. I'm a coordinator. When I was in the 7th or 8th grade, these 12 and 13-year-olds had breast and behind, and I was just attracted to that. I didn't realize I was gay. I don't know what the heck I thought it was. It was this, sophomore. Her name was Kenya, and she was a stud. She played basketball, but I don't know what it was about her, but we sat across from each other, and we would stare each other down for the whole period, and my stomach would have butterflies. She didn't have to touch me. Just looking alone was enough, and I would just fantasize about her caressing me and doing whatever. We would walk out the door and never say a word to each other. Years later, I end up marrying a stud, and we've been together for 8 years, so that's the love of my life.
My name is Stephen Orr, and I'm from Abilene, Texas. It was 1972, and I was 7 years old. We were in the backyard of my house, and my father and my brothers were playing catch football. I never really knew how to play football, so it's like another language that I don't understand. Nobody was really paying attention to me. I was just amusing myself like I always did, probably in my own little world. So my mom goes to my dad and she says, she's Dub, which is his nickname, why don't you ask Steve if he wants to play ball with you? I think he feels left out. So my dad came up and asked me, Steve, would you like to play ball with us? And I said, I thought about it and I thought, well, no, I don't want to play ball, but I would like to go pick flowers. And my dad, without missing a beat, just said, sure, let's go. He took me and we got in the old white Buick, which we called Bessie, and since it was springtime, Texas at that point is full of wildflowers of all sorts. And so we went to a local field and picked all sorts of flowers. I remember just the way in the late afternoon the flowers looked. All sorts of Texas wildflowers, blue bonnets and little Mexican sun hats and evening primroses. Those are some of my favorite wildflowers. I always know when something's truly beautiful. I almost feel a tightening in my chest, almost like my esophagus kind of tightens up, and it's something about the beauty of that place or that flower or that garden that I see that I have an immediate reaction to. It was a sign of my otherness, and I think that's something about being gay that is very important. And I'm surprised when people think that flowers are a feminine thing. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No one else is gay, and no one else is going to say they're gay, and I'm just going to, have nothing for a long time.
I mean, I just had all these sort of paranoid thoughts.
Even though they didn't realize they were hurting my feelings, I just didn't want to talk about it.
Knowing that I was a good person, being hated so easily by people who didn't know me.
My name's Julie, and this is my son Dylan. I'm 27, and he is 19 months old. I'm a social worker, and I've been a social worker for the last 6 years. I knew I was gay when I was 2.5 months pregnant and married. I remember the moment very specifically. I was sitting outside in my parents' backyard on a table and looking at the stars, wondering why I felt so empty and why I couldn't get over this one girl. I couldn't understand why a friendship and a broken friendship would cause me so much heartache and loss. And then it was kind of like this wave hit me, like, yeah, Julie, you're being pretty stupid because you love her. And it was like this big relief and this big excitement at the same time. When you have that moment of discovery, it's kind of like time stands still, and you feel so good, and then you get so scared because, God, you don't know how people are going to respond. When I came out, it was one of the worst days of my life. It was so hateful between my mother and I. And she, I think, said some things that I'll never forget. Because I was pregnant. And, you know, she's worked really hard on accepting me, and she doesn't, and my dad doesn't. And he said to me that if we knew you were gay, we would try to fix you. And we hope Dylan's not gonna be gay. It's still a struggle to feel rejected from the person who created you. And I just hope Dylan never has to know that, you know, and he won't. And that's why I came out. Wanted my son to know that love was love and not fear.
And one night I was sitting on the couch with my mom, and we were talking about all this, and she finally looks at me and she says, Josh, do you think you might be gay?
Well, my mother didn't know. I knew. Mom didn't know, and she fought me about it and all sort of things. And I denied everything, of course.
Eddie, you're my brother. I love you no matter what, and it doesn't change anything.
You know, that's the first time I sat there just stunned, and I'm like, I don't know. And then I thought about it, and I finally said, you know what, Mom? I am.
My name is Fred. I'm 47 years old. I'm a computer engineer here in Austin, Texas. I've known that I've been gay most of my life, but I brought my family here with me today to talk about when they knew.
I knew deep down inside that he was gay. The way he stayed to himself, mainly, I think that's what really triggered me off, you know.
I created a laboratory in the basement where I spent most of my time creating things, but I just didn't know how to communicate to them what it was. I didn't really know what it was. I think Mom was the first one I told, actually, that I was gay. And we were in the rec room watching TV. She was folding clothes, and she just very casually asked me, how long have you felt the way you felt? And I said, my whole life. And she said, are you happy? And I said, yes. He said, okay. I can't probably repeat what he said. But she wanted to know about sexual things.
I was nosy, I guess. I want to know what's going on. How are you going to find out if you don't ask questions? So,
and she did.
And I did.
My oldest cousin, Tina, had told me, it was like, what? You know?
After she was told by Tina, I was told when I was maybe 6.
I remember him telling me at 7.
It was just kind of like, he's gay. Tell Charles, he's gay. He told Dave, he's gay. Okay, let's move on, you know.
probably have always known.
The reality of it is that I always knew from a very young age.
I knew since birth.
I think I knew when I was conscious of knowing.
And I can't ever remember not knowing.
Thank you, Max, for that marvelous introduction. All right, my name is Chris Daniels. I'm 20 years old, and I'm gay, Liberace gay. Apparently, I emit rainbows and sparkles out of my ass. Flames of faggotry just seem to emit from my pores. I'm so proud. I guess I knew when I had an affinity for Disney princesses. Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Little Mermaid was the first movie that I ever saw. And I remember I always would take baths and I would reenact the scenes as Ursula and always had this, big, booming, powerful voice. But I knew for certain when I wanted to be Ariel so I could land myself Prince Charming. Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything? God did not bless me with any sort of musical aptitude whatsoever, but who cares? No big deal. I want more. How's that? Oh, thanks. Stop it. Stop it.
Having, even at that early age, having that identity of like, oh, I'm homosexual, it just made sense.
Oh, okay. My path is going to go in a completely different direction.
Just boom, it just clicked. I couldn't believe it.
I was gay and I was pretty excited about it.
I realized I was a lesbian and I was so relieved.
Oh my God, this is heaven. Like my head was just spinning.
I was in love and it just so happened to be a guy. So I was very happy about that.
When I finally realized it, that's when I felt right.
It scared the hell out of me at the same time that it felt right.
This fits me well.
Made life a lot easier.
It felt more right than it did wrong.
There's a place for me.
This is right. This is it. I was pretty accepting of myself.
It kind of clicked. It made sense.
All those things made sense to me.
Who I was okay.
It seemed all so natural, and I figured all of it out, and it just came rushing into my body.
I knew exactly for sure that there was no going back.
It would be great if when I knew wasn't so far away from when people came out. There was less time in between.
Maybe one day when I knew and coming out will be the same thing.